Hey guys, welcome back to the Time to Watch channel. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. I would greatly appreciate that. And I'm super excited today because I finally got my hands on the Rolex Yacht-Master 40. Now this is a watch that I've been waiting for quite some time. So I'm just over the moon to get the call from my AD today, and I immediately rushed down to pick it up. So same like my other videos, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and review of the watch. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. So same like all the other Rolex boxes, it comes in this simple cardboard white sleeve. So let me just slide that out. And inside, we will find the outer box, which is this cream colored cardboard box with the Rolex crown logo embossed on top here. And inside, we have this thin foam sheet to protect the main watch box, which is the famous green Rolex watch box that we're all so familiar with. Let me just slide this out, get this one out of the way. And let's take a look at the main watch box itself. So the very famous wave pattern that we see on top of the box, as well as the gold crown at the bottom here, very iconic. Okay, so let's open it up and take a look at the watch. And there it is, the Rolex Yacht-Master with the sunburst blue dial. Wow, that is just so beautiful. Alright, so let's take a look at what is inside the box. Let me zoom out a little bit. So at the top compartment here is where we find our usual documentation. We have the guarantee card. Let me just slide that out. Take a look at the reference number for this model, which is 126622, and the date of purchase, which is today, 14th of September 2022. And at the back of the leather sleeve, we have the worldwide service booklet. Okay, I'll just keep it in there. And lastly, we also have the user manual for the Yachtmaster. Okay, just some simple instructions and guides on how to use the watch. Okay, nothing interesting there. Now, let me just take out the watch and see what else is underneath. So here, we have the green superlative chronometer tag and the Rolex white tag here, and of course we have the spare links as well. So for my 6 3/4 inch wrist, 17 centimeters, I removed 2 spare links. Okay, let me keep all of this back here and we'll take a closer look at the watch. Let me just move the watch box out of the way as well. Let me zoom back in for a better look. Okay. Just look at that sunburst dial, how it plays with the light. It's just gorgeous. Okay, let me remove it from the cushion. And now we can go over the dimensions as usual. So this is a 40mm case. It has a thickness of only 11.5 millimeters, which is actually one of my favorite things about this watch. It is how slim it is, so it fits very nicely and very comfortably on wrist. Makes it look much more dressy than a typical Rolex sports model. For example, like the Submariner or the GMT. This one, it does look sporty as well, but at the same time, in my opinion, it also looks kind of dressy too. Okay, so it has a lug-to-lug of 47.5 millimeters, but if you're looking at the solid end links here, which do flare out a little bit, so the measurement from solid end link to solid end link is 50 millimeters, but it still wears very nicely on the wrist. It's not too big. It has a lug width of 20 millimeters, and the bracelet tapers down all the way to about 15 millimeters where it meets the clasp, and the clasp here goes back up to about 17 millimeters. Okay. The movement that this watch uses is the in-house caliber 3235, which is the same movement that you will find in the Rolex Submariner date. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, so that's 4 Hertz, and it has a power reserve of 70 hours. Okay, so just a little bit of background about this model, the Yachtmaster. So it was first introduced in 1992, and this model was initially intended to replace the Rolex Submariner model line, but ultimately Rolex felt that the Yachtmaster has too big a difference in terms of aesthetics and overall image with the Submariner. And because of that, Rolex decided to let the Yachtmaster be an entirely separate model line on its own, which I'm sure all of us will agree is the right decision, because I can't imagine if Rolex did not have a Submariner line right now. Okay, so now let's take a look at the bezel, which is also one of the key features of this watch, being made of 950 platinum, and it's also bi-directional, which is different than the Submariner, which is unidirectional. Okay, so let's check out the bezel action. It's really smooth and buttery. It doesn't have the clicks that you would see or you would hear in the Submariner. It's just a very smooth. It does have a little bit of tactile feedback, which feels good. And I also like that it doesn't have the clicks actually. At least it separates from the Submariner. You know, there's a difference there. Okay, there's no lateral play of the bezel. It's very solid. So let's turn it back the other direction. Okay, and let's put it a bit closer here. So what you would do, or how you would use this bezel, is to align the arrow with your minute hand, and then you can use it as a timer or as a counter. So for example, if it moves from here to here, then that would mean that 10 minutes has elapsed. Okay, let me just move it back here. Okay, that's the OCD in me. This arrow always has to be at the 12 o'clock position. And in terms of the finishing of the bezel, we can see that the majority of the surface here, or in fact this whole surface here, is actually media blasted, which has a very nice sheen to it, and the markers and numerals are actually raised, and the top surfaces here are polished. Now that is also a very big distinction with the Rolex Submariner, which are actually carved in and platinum filled. This one is actually raised and polished. So I feel that this adds a lot of character to this watch, and overall the bezel just shines very nicely under bright light. Okay, now let's look at the dial. Let me just make sure that my camera is in focus. So like I mentioned just now, this one is the Sunburst Blue dial, which is actually very similar or even identical to the blue dial that you would find on the Sky Dweller. And we have the Lollipop seconds hand, which is in red, as well as the Yachtmaster text here, which is also in red. So I feel that on this blue dial, having that little splash of red there really makes it a little bit playful, you know, a little bit more character, and a bit sporty as well. The hour and minute hands, as well as the hour markers, are white gold and filled with Chromalight Loom, which later we'll also take a look at the quality of the loom. And at 3 o'clock, we have the date window and the Cyclops lens. And now let's take a look at the case. So this model actually features an oyster case, which you can see a more rounded design as compared to the straight angular design that you would find on the maxi case of the Submariner or the GMT Master 2s. So this again adds to the, you know, a very dressy aesthetic, very elegant aesthetic of the watch, which I think complements the overall look of the watch very nicely. And this case is actually shaped very similar to what you would find on the Daytona actually. Let's take a look at the side profile here. Notice how the lugs actually angle downwards here, so it actually hugs and wears on the wrist very nicely. It actually hugs the wrist very nicely as well. Okay, now let's take a look at the bracelet. So this watch has the 3-link oyster bracelet with brushed outer links and polished center links. And I know that there are many people who are actually not fans of the polished center links because It picks up scratches more easily and also fingerprints and all that. But I think that it actually looks really nice, you know, really classy and elegant, and it adds to the aesthetics of the watch. Lastly, the clasp. We have a clamshell here and the lift lock system here. So how you open up this clasp is that you pull on this side so it releases, and then to put it back on, you just simply push it down and it snaps into place, and then you use the clamshell to add even more security to the clasp. So this is a very substantial, very secure clasp. And now let's take a look at what it looks like on the wrist. Okay, so here we go. Let's do a wrist roll. Wow, that is so stunning. It really wears so nicely. Look at how close it hugs the wrist, and it's still so comfortable. This bracelet, this case, and this clasp around the wrist is just perfect. Okay, a top-down view on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, so you can see that the size is actually perfect. It's not too big, and it's definitely not too small as well. So 40 millimeters with this design on the wrist looks really, really good. Okay, so I will be adding some outdoor shots and outdoor videos as well at the end of this video. And let me just turn off the light so that we can check out the loom. Okay, so now I'm gonna charge up the loom with my flashlight here so that we can see just how nicely and how bright the Chromalight Loom actually is. Yep, as we can see, Rolex does not disappoint. The Chromalight Loom is indeed very beautiful with that bluish tone, and it does shine very, very brightly. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and like I mentioned, I'm super excited for getting this watch. I think this will easily be in the top 3 in my whole collection. Hoping to add even more awesome pieces to my collection soon and create nicer videos for all of you to enjoy. So please consider liking and subscribing. It would be greatly appreciated, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!